Hello everyone, this is Caitlin Piccirillo, President and Founder of the DESSH Foundation. Pleased to bring you my presentation from the 2022 DESSH Clinic that was just held. I'm really happy to be able to send this out to you, especially given I wasn't able to share this information with you in person. I wanted to give you a brief description of how we were founded, how we are built, and how we work as a group going forward. As well as give you some insights into ways you can get involved. My husband, Joseph, and I started this foundation back in 2019. We had our son Leo, was born in 2015 and was diagnosed in 2016. And for those few couple of years, we were sort of in shell shock, as many of you can understand. And it wasn't until we did some research on our own that we were able to get in contact with Dr. Shinawi, who impressed upon us the importance of a patient advocacy group. So we got our start with an event. The first way that we really decided to move forward with promoting our cause was a dash for DESSH, and this is an image from that very first event that we held in our hometown of Vernon, New Jersey, and it was simply an awareness walk that we sold tickets for. And you can see Joseph there with his hat on holding our two kids, Leo and Lucia, and you can also see the Moores. Tara and her husband Ed are there with their daughters Hannah with DESSH and their other daughter Michaela. They live within driving distance to us, and through Facebook we were connected, and they were able to make it to the Dash for DESSH too. It was a first opportunity to meet another family affected, and we had an amazing event. We were registered as a nonprofit in New Jersey in April 2019. Of course, we needed to become registered with the IRS as a 501c3 nonprofit if we really wanted to boost our fundraising efforts, and that process took a bit of time, but we were approved in January of 2020, just shy of the COVID pandemic. But before everything shut down, we were able to attend the American Society of Human Genetics conference, which was held in Houston, Texas in 2019. And as part of that conference, we wanted to attend as an organization in order to raise awareness for our foundation. We had an exhibit booth in the exhibit hall there, and we invited families that were on the Facebook group to join us. And given the interest level, there were about 12 families. We had a family meeting at that same time where Dr. Shinawi came and spoke, and we had some other speakers as well. And it was really the one and only other time that families got together with DESSH and spoke and really made connections with each other and learned a little bit more about research, advocacy, and how to move forward. The DESSH Foundation supports patients and families challenged by DeSanto-Shinawi syndrome through awareness and fundraising to advance research in pursuit of a cure. Our vision, our paramount goal, is to find a cure for a rare disease. And we want to do this to provide DESSH patients with the best quality of life. We realize this is a lofty and very ambitious goal, but it can be achieved in our lifetime. Along the way, we want to care for our DESSH community by managing their challenges and seeking short-term treatments for their symptoms with our eye towards the ultimate goal, which truly is a treatment for this rare genetic syndrome. The DESSH Foundation has a strong mission. We were established to do three primary things. The first of those is to provide a support community for families challenged by DESSH. We do this through our Facebook groups, through our WhatsApp groups, through being able to get together when we have clinics or industry conferences that we can invite folks to. And also through encouraging general meetups among people that are near to each other geographically. And we hope that by creating at least a platform on social media, that there's been the ability to really foster relationships among peers for our children and among parents and caregivers of these children with DESSH. And I shouldn't continue to say children, I should say patients with DESSH, because we have adults too with DESSH, and a future goal would be to get their voices involved too. Another mission of ours is to advance research and education related to DESSH, and that's exactly what this clinic was all about. We are advancing research by providing data to these clinicians and doctors who are able to observe our children in person. We're creating DESSH experts. You know, Dr. Shinawi mentioned that seeing about 20 to 25 patients really is what qualifies you as an expert in a condition. And just last weekend, we were able to give 4 different specialists access to 15 cases. So we are well on our way to creating experts in the field of DESSH, and this will really help us advance our mission. This will really help educate others about DESSH, because we now have people to refer them to when they have questions, when there are new patients that come about. And we also provided lab research in the form of biosamples, blood and skin samples that will be invaluable to the scientific community as we continue to learn more about the condition and go for treatments. And lastly, we were established to raise awareness among the medical profession and the general public. And we've done a great job of that this weekend with the medical profession. And with the general public, I think we can do as best we can when it comes to our Facebook groups, our social media outreach, and also attending all the conferences that we can. There are so many rare disease conferences that exist to support patients, to advocate for better laws among the rare disease community and people challenged with medical issues. There's ways to get funding. There are a lot of opportunities out there if people just know who we are and why we exist, and can become a little bit more educated about the challenges and struggles of patients with De Santos-Shinawi syndrome. As an organization, we think it's really important to know how we're going to fulfill our mission. And so we've set goals for ourselves, and these are very high level, but we want to continue to support patients and families, to continue to build our support group, as mentioned before. And one of the ways we think we can do this is by identifying new patients and growing our community. It really will grow our education, our knowledge, our awareness. It will also help our pursuits for a cure with the scientific community and the medical community. In order to advance research as a goal is by continuing to engage all of you and collaborating with the many researchers that we have that are currently interested in our syndrome, and they sit on our medical advisory board at this time. They all work for private institutions, and one thing we might be interested in pursuing in future is fundraising to hire a researcher who really looks at all of the data points that we would request as parents that we find important, and really find a researcher willing to do our work that we pay for and is more beholden to us than to any other academic institution. And lastly, of course, we need to continue to raise awareness, and we do this, as I said prior, by attending conferences. Rare Disease Day is also huge among our community, and it's the rarest day of the year, February 29th, celebrated on the 28th if it's not a leap year. And we also, as I said, exhibit at network and industry conferences and build a community of DESSH ambassadors. That's all of you. Some of the conferences that we've attended, we've been lucky. I will say a positive of the pandemic is we've been able to attend a lot of conferences because they've gone virtual. And so because of that, we were able to join our peers in the rare disease space and the genetics community with conferences that were hosted by the NIH, the FDA, the National Organization for Rare Diseases, which is NORD. And NORD is a great resource for parents. It's also a great resource for organizations like ours. We've become platinum level members with them, which gains us extra resources and helps assist us with building our foundation. And then in person, we attended in 2019 the American Society of Human Genetics Conference in Houston, as mentioned before, and we more recently went to Nashville in March for the American College of Medical Genetics Conference, where we also were able to meet up again with Dr. Shinawi, although that was not a family meetup, it was purely for the foundation. This slide really shows our infrastructure and how we're built, and there's 4 major components to the people that make up our foundation. The first group I would point to are our board of directors. We currently have a 10-member board, and it's made up entirely of DESSH patient family members. And the board meets quarterly, and their main objective is to govern the activity of the foundation and really provide a lot of exposure to funding sources. We also have a medical advisory board, and their primary goal is to guide our research decisions. We need for people in the profession that know what's what when it comes to this matrix of incredibly complex design of cures and treatments, and I feel so ignorant, and without this medical advisory board, there would be no way forward. So it's currently made up of 5 members. It's a mixture of clinicians, people that see patients, and scientists, those that work in the lab on preclinical matters. We also have a group of volunteers and committees. I say volunteers lightly because we've had very few that come through and serve on our committees, and I'd like to change that. I'd like to invite everyone out there who has any interest in joining our efforts to sit on a committee. We have 5 subcommittees, and they are a awareness committee, a patient support committee, and a research committee. We also have a planning committee and a finance committee. And so I'm happy to provide more information about participation in any of those areas. And then, of course, all of you are the a major branch of our organization, the patients and families. Currently, we have 119 patients across 23 countries that our foundation is aware of, that have been diagnosed and identified, and you are the reason that we exist. I want to stress that there are likely many more patients and families. There might be more more cases that we know of strictly through our Facebook group that are not counted in these numbers, because these numbers come from those patients who've completed a registration form on our website. So if they have not completed a patient form, they would not be counted in these numbers, and I'd really like to encourage all the patients and families out there. Of course, all of you, I'm preaching to the choir, but anyone who stumbles upon our group through a search because of a new diagnosis ought to fill out our patient form so that they can be counted among our numbers and also get the communications that we send out regularly for everyone to continue participating in conferences and clinics like this one. I'd like to introduce all of you to our current board of directors. I'm Caitlin Piccirillo, and my husband is Joseph, and we together are the president and vice president of DESSH Foundation and the parents of Leo. Our sister-in-law, Amanda Murphy, serves as secretary. She's Leo's aunt and godmother, and she was perfect for this role given her law background. We also have another family member of Leo's, Patty Cardona. She was at the conference. Many of you met her, also known to me as Mom. And then I'd like to introduce Amy Mitchell. She heads up our awareness committee, and she has Caden Mitchell, her son, who was also at the clinic. Tara Moore is the head of the fundraising committee, and she is the mother of Hannah. You saw them in the first slides. They were unable to come to this clinic, but are very active and involved with the community. We also have Stephen Piccirillo, Leo's grandfather, and he serves as our chief financial officer due to his accounting background and significant roles he's played in the professional space of finance. Melissa Sidebottom is another member of the board of directors. She's Hunter Sidebottom's mother. She has been active in the community since the beginning, and she was in attendance at the conference. And we also have Nosheen Wasim. She is the committee chair for the patient support group, and she has a child with DESSH, Amara. Many of you met Aleem, her husband, and Amara and Amara's big sister, Ariana. I'll also point out that Ariana has helped as a volunteer, a youth volunteer. Now she's in her first year of college, but her and her peer group at their high school really helped us grow our social media base in the early stages, and we'd like to continue moving that needle forward with volunteers. And lastly, I have Colleen Tosti is a member of the board, but she's an ex officio member, which means she is not a voting member. However, she is really integral to the success of the board. As many of you can imagine, she helps a great deal moving our initiatives forward, and she is a friend of our families. Now, it's not lost on me that this is a very Piccirillo heavy board. We started this organization when we didn't have a lot of connections to other families, and in fact it wasn't until the Houston meetup that we were able to sort of roll off some of our own family members in order to include other parents like Amy, Tara, Melissa, Nosheen. And it's important that we continue that way. We currently have 2 open board seats. I would love to have them filled by any one of you. And we'd also like to roll off a couple more family members so that we can really have a diverse board that can have a voice for our entire patient population. We've done well. We've got, parents of boys, parents of girls, parents of teenagers, parents of children, but I think it's important that we expand to parents of those in other countries. And I think that we can do that with your help. So I am happy to offer more information about that in the near future, where we are going to have to add new board members. And so I really hope that I can encourage any of you with interest to sign on. It also does not have to be a parent, or a relative even. It can be someone that has any type of, the purpose of the board is about governance and championing our cause. It's being a true ambassador. So anyone that has a passion for our cause and is able to promote all of our activities, offer support through giving, and also fundraising with external sources is welcome to apply. Now I'd like you to meet the dream team, our medical advisory board, which is continuously growing. Of course, of most prominence is Dr. Shinawi. He is a professor of pediatrics at Washington University. He's also a clinical geneticist seeing pediatric patients at St. Louis Children's Hospital, and he is the man that really discovered the syndrome that our children have, and while he was one of many other researchers, he is really the one that has championed the cause, again, as I say, in his free time because of his care for this community. And he has been integral in also encouraging other medical advisory board members to join. So he had a connection to Dr. Chil-Hee Kim. He is a professor at Changnam National University, and he's also the director of the Zebrafish Center there for disease modeling. And he created a DESSH zebrafish model. And he and I will jump over to his right, Dr. Daniel Vogt, have been connected to one another now. And you'll hear a presentation from both of them on their lab work and their studies with animal models, including the zebrafish on Dr. Kim's side, and Dr. Vogt, who on his own initiative actually created a mouse model for DESSH because he has a lab at Michigan State University that studies autism. And WAC is known as an autism gene. It's on the list, I think, of 78 or 79 genes that are attributable to autism. And it was due to that list that he decided to pull off the WAC gene and study that in a mouse. And the connection that he and Dr. Kim have has been really great. Because, you know, certain things are easier to test on one animal than another, and their collaboration was fostered through our foundation. They met through us, and I couldn't be more proud of that fact. Dr. Amanda Smith was a senior researcher. Well, currently she's a senior researcher at Insight, which is a pharmaceutical company, but originally she worked at Washington University with Dr. Shinawi, and she was in the lab there and really got the mouse model project initiated at Washington University before she left to work at at Insight. She left her mouse model to Dr. Harrison Gable's lab. And Dr. Gable was not able to attend our presentation, but a grad student in his lab, Alyssa Erickson, I introduced you all to, will be taking over that mouse model and seeing if there's anything that we can study further. And then lastly, I'd like to introduce Dr. Alana Salvucci. She originally started her career as a pediatric neurologist, and she was actually a doctor of one of our DESSH patients, Hunter Sidebottom. But she's now moved over to the corporate side of medicine, and she is a medical director of clinical development at Capsida Biotherapeutics. So we've got two great connections, at least, with biopharmaceutical companies for, you know, getting down to the treatment side of DeSanto-Shinawi syndrome. I think will be guided well by these two women, Dr. Smith and Dr. Salvucci. I wanted to share a few known statistics we have about our patient population. As I said before, we have 119 known patients, and that was as of October 1st of this year. This first graph here shows the age of diagnosis. And as you'll see, the majority of those diagnosed are diagnosed under the age of 5, with about 90 of our 120 patients being under the age of 10 right now, which I think makes a lot of sense given the discovery of DESSH just occurred in 2014, 2015. And so those patients that are born with something that causes them to get genetic testing will come back with a result of DeSanto-Shinawi syndrome, whereas older children have been through genetic testing probably prior to the discovery of DESSH, and unless they have a reason to go back and retest, might not know that they have the syndrome. And so I think it'll be really important for us to try to find ways to get older populations diagnosed with the syndrome, because they can be a really good asset for our population to know what the future holds. The second group down here, or graph, shows comorbidities, and by comorbidities, I simply mean a second diagnosis to DESSH. And that's true of about half of our population as reported by their parents. So a comorbidity is anything from an ADHD diagnosis or an autism diagnosis to a second genetic finding, which many of our patients also have. I broke down the number of patients that we have by country according to parent-provided data, and it's stunning. In North America, we have 61 DESSH patients, and then there's 46 across Europe. So those being the two largest populations. There's 12 other known patients diagnosed across South America, Africa, Asia, and Australia. And I find our global community to be diverse and growing, and that's exciting to me. But I'd like to be able at some point to offer our international patients the support that they need on an ongoing basis. Some other insights that I wanted to share with you based on feedback from parents filled out from the patient form on our website is the most problematic symptoms as reported by parents in the order from greatest to least are developmental delay, followed by hypotonia, followed by behavioral difficulties, followed by gastrointestinal issues. Which is quite interesting to me, given we had a lot of focus at this DESSH conference on seizures and on intellectual delay and on ophthalmology. And so those issues exist, of course, among all the DESSH patients, but the more troublesome symptoms that parents feel they're dealing with right now are these 5 listed here. I will say that these 5 are probably the most prominent in early childhood, but like doctors have said, they sort of correct themselves as time goes on. I thought it was really important for us to touch on the fundraising aspects of our organization. Our organization cannot exist, as I said before, without patients and families like you to serve. But in order to fulfill our mission, we also need funds, and no nonprofit can operate without the generosity of others. It is the lifeblood of our organization, and it really requires ongoing effort to solicit funds for a growing community like ours. So I wanted to show you some of the ways that we have encouraged donations. We've hosted a variety of different fundraising events in the past, most of them local to our community. As shown before, we had the Dash for DESSH. That was our first awareness walk that we did, and that was in person in 2019. We also did in 2020 a virtual walk that was well attended by everyone across the globe in our community. And so those are 2 ways that we've been able to bring in some donations for our foundation. We also, my husband has a music background, so we hosted a concert at a local community center called Songs for DESSH, and it was almost like a talent show, but we had singers from all over. We live close to New York City. We had some connections with a Broadway singer and some local community choirs. We even had the local school come and perform, the children's choir. So that was a fun way to raise some money and get everyone together. It also kills 2 birds with 1 stone because you're really raising awareness at the same time when you're hosting these kinds of events. We also did a cut-a-thon where a local barbershop was willing to donate their services, and anyone who got their hair cut, on such and such a day, all their funds were given to us at the end of the cut-a-thon. And then we hosted a rare disease ribbon fundraiser that was helped a great deal by Amy Mitchell, and that was great because it spread awareness. We We created bows and we had them mailed and sent out to anyone who bought an awareness bow to display at their home on Rare Disease Day. And that was a good fundraiser too. It worked well during the pandemic because there was no in-person meetup. A lot of these events were coordinated by the board. In fact, all of our fundraising efforts come direct from the board right now. And as I said, it's Piccirillo heavy. So it becomes a lot. And I feel like we have a wonderful community, but we need to spread that out among the world. There have been some other great fundraising ideas and some other great fundraisers themselves by other family members in the DESSH community. For example, Tara Moore and her husband work on a Long Island school district, and they did a fundraiser called Caps for a Cause, where on Rare Disease Day, they got permission at their school to invite everyone for a donation. They could wear a hat to school. There are other things like Jeans for Genes, meaning GENES for JEANS. At some other schools, teachers can have a dress down day if they donate to DESSH, or my school district has done something similar to that. I know Melissa Sidebottom School District has done something similar to that. And so getting your own community involved around this cause is a great way to do two things, really, which is raise awareness and fundraising. Of course, events are always fun, but they are not the only revenue generating fundraisers out there. For some passive fundraising ideas, the simplest, easiest thing you could do to help all of us is to perhaps share some of these links I'm about to show you on your Facebook pages. For example, we have an Amazon Smile account. Anyone that orders anything on Amazon through Amazon Smile rather than Amazon Direct has the option to donate to a nonprofit charity of their choice. We are listed among those choices, and so if you one time select Amazon Smile for the DESSH Foundation, anytime you go to Amazon, a percentage of your everyday purchases will come back to our organization. We also have a shop, the DESSH shop, that has some DESSH swag that can be purchased, and a portion of those purchases, again, come back to our organization. In terms of designs and products available, if anyone has ideas or would like to get involved in this specific revenue generator, please let me know. I would love some assistance with designs. Minted.com is a fairly newer revenue generator, but it's great around the holidays because, as you know, they're a stationery company, greeting card company, and they actually will give you 20% off of any of your purchases and then donate back to us 15% of whatever purchase. So it's a win for the consumer and it's a win for DESSH. If you were to buy any of your stationery or gifts, personalized gifts from minted.com, there is a code that you can use that will end up giving back to the foundation. And Facebook is another awesome way to generate dollars for our community. Everyone that has a Facebook page has the option to create a fundraiser, and that fundraiser can be for any cause. Birthday fundraisers that some parents have done with, sort of larger networks of folks have raised $1,000 for us just by saying, hey, it's my birthday and I care a lot about this organization. Will you fundraise for me? We also use Facebook, our Facebook page itself, as a way to encourage donations on specific holidays like Rare Disease Day. And some other ideas that have happened is corporate giving. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. If you have a company match program, anything that you donate or a friend donates, your company might match up to, a certain amount, and that is just extra income for us. We also have, some companies also have ways that you can donate to any organization pre-tax through a different mechanism that comes straight out of paychecks. If it's something, a monthly donation of $10 a month or something, could happen, completely behind the scenes. And then some other more creative ways, when inheritances or people pass, having donations come to an organization like ours rather than, in lieu of flowers is a nice way that some people like to provide funds for us as well. So there are many ways, and these are all just relying on the generosity of others. There are other ways to fundraise that we have yet to really tap into. For example, there are grants out there that we can get from filling out applications on the medical side, but also on the patient advocacy side, there are groups that will provide funds, travel stipends and reimbursements for specific events that we want to attend, like conferences. So it's important that we as a community are able to find and really tap into resources that will provide us with the revenue and the income that we need to find this cure and to really fulfill our mission and to take care of these kids. Lastly, I'd like to provide you with some ways that you all can get involved. I know that there have been many times folks have reached out to me saying, hey, I'm here to help and I'd like to do what I can. Let me know what you need. Well, these are some of the ways that you can help, because I will lose track of your emails. I will, I'm only human, not have something for you to do at the moment and then need someone and can't find a volunteer. So a couple of different ways. The first one is simply your time and your talent. And I know those are really valuable resources. We only have so much time in a day, but there are so many areas that we can expand with your help. If you speak multiple languages, we would love you to be a translator for others. If you're interested in graphic design, please help me with our DESSH shop and our swag store. Or if you have any background in web design, run our website for us. There's no pride in ownership here. And then, again, social media we have platforms that are slow going because of the amount of time it really takes for someone to post across Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of the above. So anyone interested in social media, even if you have young teenagers that would like to sort of take over, I am happy to guide with the types of posts and content that we'd like. But really the manpower, the time, and the talent is a huge asset to our group. The second one I wanted to point out is a fundraiser. Create a fundraiser. That's we went over a lot of examples on the previous page of that, but you could do something so simple like a Facebook group birthday fundraiser, even simpler, just copying and pasting links about minted.com or about our shop or about Amazon Smile, or go big and host a full-on charity event. Golf outing. What is something that your community enjoys? I've heard of clam bakes in certain communities. One mother is a member of a quilting community and did a quilt for DESSH that auctioned off. Someone else made jewelry and sold jewelry on behalf of DESSH. Where's your talent lie, and how can that turn into fundraisers and dollars for our group? Another way you can help is by really spreading the word. And by spreading the word, I mean about our foundation, but I also mean to the extent anyone is comfortable, really sharing personal experiences and personal stories about your challenges, your ups and your downs, and your achievements living with and caring for a person with DESSH. These can be impactful most to our donors, and in fact, when we do our annual year-end fundraising, we include personal stories because it has the largest impact. How do you share these stories? Well, you don't want to just go on social media and just talk about yourself for a while, but going to our DESSH Facebook page that is public, and sharing a milestone that your child met, a great success, or just updating a picture, here we are at the park, is a way that we can grow our social media influence and keep donors and others engaged with our story. And so I would encourage all of you to post to @us. @CureDesh is typically our handle for most social media anytime you want to post, or just go directly to the page and post something. So my slides skipped ahead, but I wanted to still touch on the last way, and perhaps most meaningful way that you could get involved with the DESSH Foundation, and that's to become a board member. Our board is here to see the big picture, and it shapes the way that we approach our mission. If you'd like a seat at the table, we're seeking 3 new members to drive initiatives, create donor relationships, and reach our long-term goals. So as I've said, our bylaws state that we can have an 11-member voting board. We currently have 9 voting members, so there's 2 seats available now. And in the near future, we will have other members rolling off. So I've said 3 members. That could be flexible to 2. It could be flexible to 4. But it's really based on interest and need. So we are the highest leadership body of the organization. We have to satisfy our fiduciary duties as a 501c3. So some of the responsibilities are fun, like determining the mission and the purposes of the organization and adhering to them. Strategic and organizational planning. Again, having that strong fiduciary oversight and financial management. But a board member is also responsible for fundraising and resource development, approving the programs and services that we choose to do, helping our public image, assessing our own performance, and really fully engaging in all the activities of our organization and our mission. So I would really like to encourage anyone that has this level of interest to contact me directly, and I will be certain to share the job description with you, and we can talk about sort of we meet only quarterly, so it's a minimal time constraint in that regard, although we do consider ourselves a working board. So we are the ones that are behind any of the initiatives you see. Staff does not exist. It's a volunteer organization, and we're all here to serve. So with that, I will now end and say thank you for joining us. Thank you for expending your time and your resources to attend our first clinic. I hope that you found it valuable, and I know that we will see value in what comes from it down the road. Thank you again.